denial, anger, fear, depression, and finally, acceptance. By your powers combined, I am the 5 stages of grief, also known as the Kübler-Ross model, often gone through due to the loss of something or someone important, frequently due to death. So could a kid-friendly show actually be revolving around such a depressing idea? You'd be surprised, because I know I was when I first noticed. Trust me, this is going to have you looking back at the 3.5 seasons you've watched with raised eyebrows and a whole new outlook on Twilight. Let's start at the beginning, naturally. In the the second pilot episode of the show, Twilight and the rest of the main 6 are venturing into the Everfree Forest forget it, you know how it goes, let's get to the nitty gritty. So as it turns out, the 5 challenges these mares face along the way are actually very similar to the 5 stages of grief. First, the cliff collapses and Applejack has to convince Twilight to let go. Twilight refuses, and Applejack needs to show that she can be trusted. She's fighting against Twilight's denial to listen, and she succeeds only when Twilight believes her and lets go. Next, we have the Manticore, furious and raging due to the thorn in its paw. It's angry, and Fluttershy can only calm it down by removing the thorn so the 6 of them can pass. Then we have the trees with scary faces which cause fear in the hearts of our heroes. Pinkie laughs in the face of danger, making the trees return to being normal trees and erasing all fear the main 6 feel, allowing them to progress. Next up is everyone's favorite sea serpent, Stephen Magnet, who's depressed at the loss of half of his mustache. Rarity cheers him up by giving him a new mustache half, which calms the serpent enough for him to help them get across the lake. And finally, the Shadow Bolts. They give Rainbow Dash a choice between joining them or sticking with her friends by offering her a chance to join their team. Should she accept, she'd be abandoning her friends, so she declines. All 5 of the challenges were about overcoming one of the 5 stages of grief, even if the last one is hard to call a grieving stage since it normally signifies the end of the grieving cycle. But that's not all. The 5 stages are actually prominent in separate episodes, all leading up to a climactic point. Let's rewind a bit. So yes, the season 1 pilot. Nightmare Moon aside, what's the main plot point in the pilot? Twilight refusing to try and make friends, even though Princess Celestia herself is ordering her to. She's going against the orders of her mentor and ruler because she believes friendship is meaningless. That's a case of denial if I've ever seen one. Now, let's skip ahead to the next 2-parter, the season 2 premiere. We have Discord, we have the maze, yada yada yada. Now, what does Discord do to the main 6? He corrupts them, causing them to go against their element. This ends up leading to all of the main 6 being angry with one another. Next 2-parter, A Canterlot Wedding, the season 2 finale. Fear is constantly evident in these 2 episodes. Twilight is afraid of losing her brother, Cadence is afraid of losing her true love, and when the changelings attack, the entire city is shown being afraid of them. And what makes this particularly important is that in the other 2 examples given, we barely saw any actual fear in the public. We didn't see the public much at all in Discord's episodes, and in the pilot, all we really saw was shocked surprise when Nightmare Moon appeared. This is the first 2-parter to revolve around fear. Then we go to the season 3 premiere, taking place in the Crystal Empire. What has King Sombra done to the Crystal Ponies? Due to the slavery, they now live in an amnesiac depression, unable to remember anything but living in sadness. It isn't until the Crystal Heart is restored that they overcome their depression for good. And lastly, the season 4 premiere, arguably combined with the season 3 finale. Twilight has become a princess, and now she has to learn to accept it and her new royal duties. Throughout the premiere, she has to order guards, learn to fly, and face the fact that being a princess might need to come before being a friend sometimes. It isn't until the end when she finally is able to accept all this. So that's 2 cases of the 5 stages of grief, but what are they grieving for? In the pilot, the grief can be construed as Luna grieving for giving in to her greed and desires. After all, it was her who set up all those challenges. But what about the overarching stages of grief throughout the series? Well, would you believe me if I told you that Princess Twilight Sparkle is actually Angel Twilight Sparkle? Probably not, so let's go through what we've seen. Upon completing Starscroll the Bearded's incomplete spell, Twilight triggers the Elements of Harmony, which blast her and leave a huge scorch mark on the floor. That's red flag number 1. When she wakes up, Twilight is in a floaty, dreamlike area. That's red flag number 2. Princess Celestia, who's basically the god of Equestria, appears here and seems to have control over this place. Red flag number 3. Twilight walks along with Celestia and sees her life flash before her eyes. Red flag number 4. In the end, Twilight is brought back to Ponyville, coming down from the sky in a shining light and now has wings. That's the 5th, 6th, and 7th red flags. See what I'm getting at yet? When the elements fired off, they actually killed Twilight, and she ended up in heaven or purgatory, where Celestia visited to show her what she had done in her life and reveal that she was ready to face her true destiny. She became a princess, but she also became an angel at the same time. Don't believe me yet? Let me point out a few additional tidbits. The word angel is a fusion of the Old English word angel and the Old French word angele, which are both derived from the Latin word angelus, which is the romanization of the ancient Greek word meaning messenger. What is Twilight known for doing? Sending messages to Princess Celestia. Even better, in Judaism, beings normally classified as angels are called Malach Elohim, or Messenger of God, and Malach Yahweh, or Messenger of the Lord. Twilight is Celestia's student and constantly sends her messages, and Celestia is more or less Equestria's god. In addition, angels are commonly believed to be people or creatures who have died and gone to heaven, living or working under God. Sounds similar to what happened to Twilight, don't you think? So not only are the 5 stages of grief prevalent in the series, they're important to something that doesn't even happen until acceptance. Twilight sparkles death and rebirth. Maybe the writers snuck that in on purpose. Maybe it was a complete accident. Maybe it's building up to something extra special in Season 5. Or maybe, just maybe, I'm just being a little overanalytical.